All right, good evening and welcome to the December 19th, 2023 meeting of the Hickory City Council. This is our last scheduled meeting for 2023. It is exciting to see everyone here, and we'll have some formal introductions here in just a minute. But at this time, I would like to ask the Reverend Amy Spivey, the senior pastor at St. Luke's United Methodist Church, to the podium. I would ask that you silence any electronic devices that you may have, and I would ask that you stand for our invocation and remain standing after the invocation for the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Spivey, we want to thank you for being here this evening and leading us in this invocation.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity. I invite us to pray together. God of light, we give you thanks for this gathering tonight as people come together to serve, to listen, to share good and important work, and to celebrate. We are grateful for our city, for our elected officials, public servants, government officials, and for the businesses, community ministries, and agencies, churches, families, and individuals that create community in Hickory. God, we thank you that tonight this room is filled with student athletes who are being recognized for their commitment and dedication as students and as community members here in Hickory and at Hickory High School. God, we pray that as we join our lives and our hearts tonight, that you would help us to see our neighbor with care and compassion, that you would guide us in decisions that reflect kindness and mercy, that you would give us wisdom to think creatively as our community changes and grows, that you would grant us patience in our collective efforts, especially when we disagree. And so in a season when the days are short and the nights are long, may we look to the light that shines in the darkness and find hope, peace, joy, and love. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, if anyone in this room hasn't heard, we have the state champions in the room. And I think you can recognize all of them. I think they all are wearing their correct colors this evening, and some of their coaches and staff, and I'm sure there's other people here from the families and just members of the public. We want to take this time at the beginning of our meeting here to formally recognize this group of outstanding students and coaches and staff and parents. Parents are certainly included in that, because without the parents, none of this would happen, obviously. So we want to formally congratulate and recognize this team. But before we do that, we've got a little short video here that I think sets the stage pretty well for why we're here tonight. So we're going to play this video, and then we'll have some formal presentations after that.
Game. But tonight, Hickory played in the 3A title game, and that, Siobhan, is where we find our Nate Wimberly, who has more on the Red Tornadoes. Nate, take it away. We see you smiling.
It's a good day. It's a good day. A big weekend for football in the city of Hickory this weekend, as tonight it was Hickory versus Fayetteville 71st in the 3A state title game. First half of this game was a version of anything you can do, I can do better. Both teams scored 2 touchdowns in the half. The difference was Hickory got a 2-point conversion on their second score and a Braden McCourt's field goal on the last play of the half, and the Red Tornadoes led at the break 18-13. Second half, the back and forth continued. The only score in the third quarter was this touchdown run from DeAndre Lance from 38 yards out. Falcons had their first lead of the game, 19-18. Hickory responds with a 10-play scoring drive that was capped by this Isaiah Lackey touchdown run. His third of the game, 2-point conversion made it 26-19 Hickory. But once again, 71st would battle back with a 10-play scoring drive of their own. Jaden Surgeon would tie the game at 26 with 2:42 to go. But Hickory would not be denied tonight. They put together a 9-play, 62-yard scoring drive to retake the lead. It was mostly on the ground with the 2 key runs coming from quarterback Brady Stover. Started with a 16-yard gain and was capped by an 8-yard touchdown from Stover. Hickory up 7 with 36 seconds to play. And for all the spotlight that has been on the offense all season long for Hickory, the Red Tornadoes defense finished the deal with this interception from Will Prince in the back of the end zone. Hickory wins 33-26 to claim the 3A state title.
It's huge for the community. I mean, you should have seen the pep rally this morning. I mean, I thought half of the community was out there, and to be a kid, to grow up in Hickory my whole life, to bring this back to them, it means the world.
Invictus is one of our poems, and Bloody But Unbowed is a big part of it, and that's kind of what we go by. Bloody But Unbowed, we bend but don't break. We're gonna believe it, we ain't gonna bow down, and we're gonna keep fighting.
Just a huge kudos has to go to Hickory. Last week against Dudley, they had to get the game-winning drive with a $1:30 left in the game. Tonight, they had to put together another game-winning drive with 36 seconds left. And the defense, for them to finish it off, man, a grade A, perfect game for the Hickory Red Tornadoes. They win the state championship. That's their second in program history. They won it back in 1996. So 2023, they're state champs again.
All right. I know that several of the players have told me that one of the coaches saying has been all year long, see it through. Coach, I think they saw it through. It looks good. All right, what I would like to do at this time is ask the coaches and the players, if they would, to come up to the front here. We're going to kind of make a semicircle with them. I'm going to come up and I'm going to read a proclamation, and then we've got a couple other things that we want to do after that. So if we can get the coaches and the team up here, we'll do that. That's all. That's everybody.
Wow.
Wow.
You're good. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
They can keep sliding that way. If they keep sliding, they might be able to.
I will. Isn't there
Hey, Jake.
It's amazing. We won soccer. Next year, we're going to win golf.
All right, is that it? Is that everybody? We got everybody up here, Coach? All right. I know that many of you went to Chapel Hill, and I know everybody behind me there was at Chapel Hill. And, man, that was a heck of a game, Coach. The one before that week, though, was probably about as intense as it could be. So we just want to take this time and this opportunity, once again, I said, to formally present this proclamation to this team that's behind me. And I know that there was some that I think couldn't be here this evening. Is that correct? Okay, but this is for the entire team, the coaches, the staff, everybody that had a part in this state championship. This is for them. It says, proclamation honoring the Hickory High School football team, the 2023 North Carolina High School Athletic Association 3A football state champions, and declaring December the 19th, 2023, Hickory High Red Tornadoes Football Day. Whereas on December the 8th, 2023, the Hickory High Red Tornadoes defeated the Fayetteville 71st High School Falcons in Kenyon Memorial Stadium in Chapel Hill by a score of 33-26 to win the NCHSAA 3A Football State Championship. And whereas the Red Tornadoes, which had previously won only one football state championship in 1996, went undefeated with a perfect score of 16-0 record to win the school's second football state championship. And whereas the Red Tornadoes were led by head coach Joe Glass, who in just his third year in that position took over a program that was 0-7 in 2020 and built a program that has made a remarkable turnaround. And whereas during their 2023 season, the Red Tornadoes had 7,208 yards of total offense scored, 94 touchdowns, outscored opponents 719-363, and defeated 3 previously undefeated, higher-ranked teams in their last 3 games to claim the 2023 NCHSAA 3A Football State Championship. And whereas the 2023 Hickory football team is a great source of pride for the players, coaches, administrators, students, fans, family, alumni, and for the community as a whole. Now therefore, I, Hank Guest, Mayor of the City of Hickory, on behalf of the Hickory City Council, do hereby honor this historic accomplishment by the team and proudly acknowledge the outstanding character displayed by the student athletes in winning the 2023 NCHSAA 3A Football State Championship, and proclaim this 19th day of December 2023 Hickory High Red Tornado Football Day. Once again, I can't tell you how proud we are of this team. I know that everyone here and others that couldn't be here have put a huge effort into this, and it certainly hasn't gone unnoticed. There'll be a public celebration. In case you haven't heard, there's another celebration being planned for Friday night on the square, and of course everybody's invited to be able to be there, that can be there for that. And we'll see a lot more people than what we could get in this room, I would imagine, Coach. So I can't tell you on behalf of the council and behalf of our entire community how proud we are of each and every one of you and for the accomplishments that you've made, not only on the field but off the field as well. We just ask that you remember all that you've been taught and that you carry that with you throughout the rest of your adult life. So once again, we want to say thank you and congratulations. You're not obligated to stay. The meeting is going to carry on here in just a minute. On your way out, we've got some City of Hickory hats that we'd like to give to each of you as a token of our appreciation, and we couldn't be more proud. Coach, I don't know if you want to say anything. You're not obligated to say anything, but obviously, thank you. There, he's a man of few words. All right, give him a big hand. All right.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Got a tough act to follow for next year. Got a tough act to follow for next year.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good luck.
Good stuff.
All right.
Bye, Amy.
Hey, what's going on? Doing all right? Good to see you.
How are you?
I meet players I coached in baseball. That's good time, right? Yeah.
Ugh.
That's good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Wow. Second.
That sound all right?
It's all right.
Yeah, that's right. That stuff's tough. Right? Well deserved. Good team. You want me to pass it down? I stole it from up there. They didn't have it down here this time.
All right.
You want some? She was at a
Is that right? I went to high school with her.
She's the athletic trainer.
We went to high school
long
with her.
time.
You're welcome to stay. All right, we're going to give just a few more seconds, and then we'll get started with the rest of the meeting. This is for the second. All right, we're down to, looks like item number 5 on the agenda. At this time, I'll ask if there's anyone present in the audience that would like to address the council. And I'll just say that this is not in reference to the public hearings. This is something in addition to the public hearing. So if you want to speak at the public hearing, this is not the time for that. Is there anyone that would like to address the council for any other matter? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes from our regular meeting of December the 5th.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right, that carries unanimously. Item number 7 is reaffirmation, ratification on second readings. Once again, I'll entertain any discussion or motion.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? That carries unanimously. Item number 8 is our consent agenda. I'll ask if there's any member of council or staff that would like to have any item removed from the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? That carries unanimously as well. All right, we have 2 public hearings this evening. To introduce our first public hearing, I'll turn it over to our city manager, Mr. Warren Wood.
Thank you, Mayor Guest, members of the City Council, Mr. Swanson. The first public hearing tonight is consideration of voluntary contiguous annexation of .553 acres located at 920 30th Avenue Drive Northwest. It's owned by Pride Design Construction Incorporated, to be presented by Planning Manager Cal Overby.
Thank you. Mayor, guests, council members, Mr. Swanson, Mr. Wood, can you guys hear me? I sometimes have problems with this mic here. Okay, the item before us tonight, as Mr. Wood indicated, is a voluntary annexation by Pride Design Construction Incorporated for property at 920 30th Avenue Drive Northwest. It's about a half an acre in size. If it would be annexed, it would be in Councilwoman Patton's ward. Currently, it's vacant. Future development is a single-family residence to be constructed on the property. And the annexation is being requested for public utilities mainly. To draw your attention here, you can see the property is actually outlined in the hatched red. If this looks familiar to you, it probably is. Council did an annexation of the property just beside it on December the 5th. There was a bit of miscommunication between myself and the builder regarding the annexation. And the paperwork they gave me on the 5th was for only one lot when it was supposed to have been for two. So we split them up, and here we are. They were in no dire rush to get 920 done because they were going to start construction on the one beside it prior to that. And this map is showing the existing zoning in the area. It's zoned R2 residential, which is basically a single-family residential zoning. The entire area is like that, so it's basically a continuation of the existing development pattern in the area. And this is showing basically an aerial photograph of the area. You can see the lot in question as well as the lot beside it are currently vacant. Again, there will be 2 single-family homes constructed on these lots, so that is the future development for the property. Staff, as with any annexation, conducted evaluation to see if all public services were available to serve the properties as they needed to be served in order to be inside the city. And upon conducted annexation, staff determined that yes, all the services are in place, and with that, staff recommends annexation of the properties. And if you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Overby? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is a public hearing, but before I declare the public hearing open, there are a few rules pertaining to our public hearings. We allow anyone who would like to speak in opposition the first opportunity to be able to do so. We allow up to 15 minutes, and then we will allow anyone who would like to speak in favor the same amount of time, up to 15 minutes, to speak in favor. If necessary, we will allow up to 5 minutes for rebuttal and rebuttal. We do ask that when you approach the podium, even though we may have your name here for the record, that you state your name and your address. We just ask that the people in the audience be respectful, whether you're in favor or whether you're in opposition. We don't allow any outburst of any kind, and we would ask that you respect those rules. So at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open and ask if there's anyone present that would like to speak in opposition of this annexation that you've just heard described by Mr. Overby. Come forward to the podium, please. Are you wanting to speak in reference to this public hearing, ma'am? Okay. Yeah. That's fine. That's understandable. Just so there's no confusion, we have a second public hearing. Okay. All right. Is there anyone present that would like to speak in opposition of this public hearing that you've just heard described by Mr. Overby? Okay. There being no one desiring to speak in opposition, I'll ask if there's anyone present that would like to speak in favor. There being no one desiring to speak, I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask if there's a motion or discussion.
Move approval of the voluntary contiguous annexation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. I'll ask if there's any further discussion from council. There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right, that carries unanimously. For our second public hearing, once again, I'll turn it over to our city manager, Mr. Warren Wood, for the introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Guest. Second public hearing is consideration of rezoning petition 23-07 for property owned by Michael and Kim Pollard, located at 2239 Robinson Road, and the 3 additional parcels as well. It'll be presented by Planning Manager Cal Overby.
Mayor Guest, council members, Ms. Swanson, Mr. Wood. Again, this is, as Mr. Wood outlined, this is a rezoning request by Michael and Kim Pollard. The applicant is Prestige Acquisitions, who's acting on their behalf as their agent. What we're looking at is about 63 acres of property that's currently zoned R1 residential. This property was annexed by the city of Hickory on December the 5th. So the property is currently within Hickory and zoned R1. Prior to being annexed, the property was in Hickory's extraterritorial area, so it was already under Hickory's zoning authority at that point in time. So the request is zoned from R1 residential to R2 residential. And before I get started, some of the differences between the two districts. R1 residential is a residential district. The density, if you will, is dwelling units per acre is 2. The predominant uses within R1 residential are single-family houses, duplexes, and manufactured homes, along with agricultural, churches, schools, and things of that like. R2 residential is a residential district. It's almost purely single-family residential. It permits residential development at a density of 4 units an acre. The predominant uses are single-family residential, which would be detached houses and owner-occupied townhomes. Those are the 2 building types for residential that are permitted there, along with schools, churches, and likewise things that you would typically see in that type of settings. So with that, I'll proceed on now. This map will show you what is the Hickory by Choice future land use map. The future land use map for Hickory by Choice is basically the vision the city has for the areas. This is a policy document, not a ordinance or law, so to speak. The property in question is hatched in red, and it's classified as low-density residential. Property across Robinson Road to the east is high-density residential, with some medium residential to the north and to the southeast, as well as regional commercial to the northeast. The current zoning of the property, as you can see, this property is actually annexed to Hickory, but what you're seeing around it here is Hickory's ETJ in this area, and Hickory city limit starts right around in here, as well as this area down here, which is actually accessed from Eller Drive here and Short Road / Startown Road further to the east. This is going to show you a orthophotograph of the property. As you can see right now, the property is largely vacant. There's one residence on the property, and part of the property is actually appears to be in an agricultural district because the property tax values by the counties show it as being reduced. So that typically is what you're looking at in that instance. Uses in the area, mainly single family here, vacant, farmland or lower density housing here, higher density residential here. This is a development, and this is a current development. It's under construction now. It's Target Shopping Center in this area, and this is a development in Hickory along Timberland Drive. As far as the consistency with the Hickory by Choice 2030 plan, which I briefly spoke of earlier, the plan basically calls for low-density residential, which was the classification of the properties, to be between 2 and 4 units per acre development type for residential. The current R1 zoning is 2 dwelling units per acre, while the proposed R2 zoning is 4 dwelling units per acre. Those parameters fall within what is predicted and called for by the Hickory by Choice plan. So as far as plan consistency, yes, the plan is, the rezoning is consistent with the plan in this particular instance. As far as some of the other criteria we typically look at, we look at stuff like natural resources and property values. Any development that may occur on the property in the future will be required to adhere to any development standards that exist at the local, state, even or federal level in some instances there. In terms of promotion of wise public resources, infrastructure is in place in the area. There's roadways, state roadways. The city has infrastructure in terms of water and sewer in the area. It will be the responsibility of the property owner or subsequent property owners from that point to get to those utilities. That will be their responsibility. We'll just provide the utilities that are there. In terms of regulation of development, again, it's largely residential in the area. This residential district just being requested, it's pretty much the same in a lot of instances. It perhaps would be more dense than some of the existing areas through there. Most of Catawba County zoning is around half an acre. You see very little density greater than that in the county, mainly because of the lack of public utilities. terms of protection from hazardous events, being that it's annexed in Hickory, Hickory handles police, fire, things of that nature, and also anything that happens, Catawba County won't leave us high and dry. They'll help out too if that's needed there. Suitability of the permissible uses, again, it's predominantly residential now. The requested district is residential and will continue that development pattern in the area. The detrimental impacts on the property, none are anticipated. If any traffic improvements have to occur, if any development ever occurs on this property, that'll be addressed at that point in time, as well as anything else on the property may be discovered. Effects on public services, went over that a little bit earlier. They're in place. They may be required by anyone that tries to develop the property in the future to get to those utilities. Hickory will provide the utilities, but it'll be your responsibility to get to them. As far as protection of public health, safety, and welfare, again, any applicable regulations, whether it be development, health, or whatnot, they will be held to and be required to follow those standards there. As far as a recommendation, our Planning Commission considered the item on December 6th. And Planning Commission heard from a number of citizens as well as the representative of the property owners. Upon their considerations, the Planning Commission found the requested rezoning to be reasonable and consistent with the Hickory by Choice 2030 Comprehensive Plan and recommended council approve the request. And with that, I will close and ask if there's any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Overby?
Well, I do have one.
Yes, sir.
During the Planning Commission meeting, you heard some of the concerns of the citizens in that area.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what some of them were?
Some of the concerns were loss of the rural character in the area, the availability of infrastructure, traffic concerns, obviously. Those were the main issues I would say that came up at that point in time. There may have been some others, but those were the overarching issues that were discussed and considered by City Council. I mean, excuse me, by the Planning Commission.
And do you feel, not saying that you can answer for the whole board, but do you feel that with their questions and concerns that many of them may have left feeling better about the project or still had questions and concerns?
I believe there were still some questions that were out there, sir.
Anything else? Anybody? Thank you, Mr. Overby.
Yes, sir. I'm going to back up to a map so there'll be something there to talk from. Thank you, Mr. Guest. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, once again, this will be a public hearing. I'll remind you of the rules that I described for the first public hearing. I just want to make one thing clear. The 15 minutes each group is given, whether opposed or approved or in favor, is combined. That's not each individual gets 15 minutes. That's a combined 15 minutes for any that would like to speak in opposition, and the same for anyone that would like to speak in favor. So at this time, I'll declare the public hearing open, and we do have some folks that have signed up to speak, so I will address those folks first, and then if whatever time is remaining, if we still have people that want to speak, we will allow that also. So first, I'll allow those to speak in opposition, and I have signed up Mr. Ross Penland. So, Mr. Penland, if you would come forward, please, and for the record, state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Ross Penland, address 3649 Fisher Street, Newton, North Carolina. I live in a piece of property that abuts a large portion of this tract. And I'm here on behalf of my family to oppose the rezoning of this property. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for all hearing me out. I've learned how my local small government works, and it's been a really unique process, and I just appreciate the time each and every person gave me. But I stand in opposition to this because by Hickory's own consulting agency or whatever, the Hickory by Choice 2030 plan zones this area as R1. So when city gets up and says that it's consistent to ask it to be rezoned R2, I would argue that consistency is keeping something the same. And being surrounding landowners, our big concern is just the density of houses that they're going to be putting out there. And from our standpoint, if it moves to R2, they'll be able to put twice as many dwellings as they were if it was to remain R1. So I just, having spoken to surrounding landowners and my family, we would like to see it remain R1, and if it's going to be developed, it be developed as such.
Thank you. Yes, sir. David Penland.
Yes, my name's David Penland, and I reside at 3645 Fisher Street. I live just up from Ross. And I'm here to oppose the rezoning, pretty much for the same reasons that he stated. I don't see why there's a need to build 4 units per acre as opposed to 2. I'm sure if you were sitting in the same situation we were, and you wanted to look across, you'd much rather see a smaller number of homes that are probably better built, and it would be better for our families and all the landowners around us. So I do oppose the rezoning. I think it should stay at R1. It should be adequate to meet the 2030 recommendations for the city as the man stated. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? If you would, please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Good evening, City Council members, Mayor, and Mr. Woods. My name is Lucinda Miller Fulbright. I reside at 738 Advent Church Road, Taylorsville. My family and I own property that abuts on the side of this property. This was my great aunt and my grandmother and my great grandmother and grandfather's property. We are opposed to the zoning from R1 to R2. I know that you guys have worked diligently to try to continue to sustain growth in the Hickory area, and part of our concern, a big part of our concern, is the changing from 2 houses per acre to 4 homes per acre, and how much that can put into one area. Of course, I am concerned about the traffic on Robinson Road. That is a direct pipeline for the GDS and the City of Hickory trucks that go to the landfill many, many times. Those trucks are up and down that road. There is a lot of traffic on that street. I'm asking also that if you do decide to change the zoning to R2, that we know from our developer that there will be buffers for us that are landowners, homeowners there, so that there is something that keeps us out of their business and them out of our business, so to speak, so that we have some sort of a buffer that looks very nice and amicable to what we're doing in this. And I'm not in the City of Hickory, but I feel like I am. What we do here in the City of Hickory, because I do everything over here. I worked over here, I shop over here, I don't go to Taylorsville for anything. This is my home. So thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak in opposition? Please approach the podium and state your name and address. You don't have to raise your hand, I'm sorry. Just if you want to speak when it's time, you just come forward and state your name and address.
I appreciate your hearing me out, Councilman Bear. My name is Glenn Miller. My grandfather owned this property, great-grandfather. I've taken care of it for 15 years. I took care of my great aunt, and I took care of him when I was only 10 years old. I was led to believe by the developer that he wanted to be a good neighbor. R1's a good neighbor, R2 isn't. This land has a lot of historical value. The land down the road, Robinson Road, has a lot of historical value in this county. The first home the land was given by the King of England to the Robinsons on a land grant. Their first home was a log cabin that was burnt down. I've hunted arrowheads on that land. I've hunted deer on that land. I didn't like being misled by the owner. I took care of this property for him for 15 years. And I appreciate your time. I'm against R2. R1's acceptable to me. but the R2 isn't. And I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Gene Klein, 2156 Robinson Road, Newton. I am co-owner of over a 200-acre farm directly across from this property. This farm has been in my family for over 150 years. We have over 100 head of cattle, and I operate farm equipment up to 15 feet wide on Robinson Road. So that takes up both lanes. I operate tractors almost daily on Robinson Road. And I want everybody here, including the developer, to be told right now, you are going to smell cow manure. So if you don't want to smell it, go home. Because I'm not going anywhere. So I'm opposed to it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, good evening. My name is Matthew Leach. My address is 621 Club Circle Northeast in Valdez, North Carolina. I was a previous Hickory citizen and moved just about 2 years ago up to Valdez. And as an avid outdoorsman and enjoyer of the conservancy property that Hickory has purchased on the opposite side of the power line, there's about 550 total acres that the Hickory Conservancy combined owns there. And with the intention, my understanding is to not do anything at all to that property as I believe, a mistake to increase from R1 to R2 because it's allowing a much more dense population that will require a lot more need on the utility services that it seems like the opposite idea of what you're trying to do just directly across the property at your conservancy land. If the idea is to have nature and peace and not develop that property to immediately adjacent to it, double the amount of houses, it just seems counterintuitive, and I would stand in opposition. Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? There being no one else desiring to speak in opposition, we have two people that have signed up to speak in favor in no particular order. Miles Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Miles Wright. I work with Wright Associates Engineering and Surveying Company out of Conover, North Carolina. Our address is 209 First Avenue South, Conover, North Carolina. I'm here with Prestige Acquisitions in favor of this rezoning. I'm basically here to answer any kind of technical questions you have. Mr. Bondo will be speaking next, and he can answer anything about the development of the property. But I'm just here basically for any kind of technical questions you may have that council may have.
Yeah, this is not the time for questions, but you're certainly welcome to say anything that you would like to say.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Alex Bond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Alex Bonda with Prestige Acquisitions. We're the applicant. My address is 7224 Jameson Way, Stanley, North Carolina. We're a local developer to the Charlotte region. We are a turnkey developer, so we take properties from land acquisition all the way through entitlements and permitting. And then we have a site works division that actually will do the land clearing, the erosion control measures, putting in the utilities, the roads, padding out the lots, and then we sell those finished lots to home builders. Excuse me, most of our clients are national home builders, the Pulte's, the D.R. Hortons, the Lennars of the world. We currently have 8,000 lots in our pipeline. We are very, we're We're very dedicated to the Charlotte region. We know it well. Hickory is a great city, and I think with the growth that's come to the Charlotte region and the need for housing, that this is a great location for folks to live in a beautiful community. I don't really have a rebuttal to some of the comments that were made. I know buffers were mentioned, and I know this is not a conditional rezoning, but we're more than happy to talk with the adjacent landowners about the buffers as far as widths and landscaping. We're not opposed to that at all. We typically do that on most of our projects. As far as Mr. Miller's family and the history on that property, we like to be, I know we're developers, but we do like to be sensitive to the history of the properties that we do develop. We're more than happy to talk to Mr. Miller about his family as far as names that might be used in the development, if he's open to that, or naming the development after a past family member. More than open to talking more on that. But otherwise, I know it's not this point in time for questions, but I am here for any additional questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? All right, there being no one else desiring to speak, both sides have had an opportunity to speak. I'll ask if there's anyone in opposition that would like to speak in rebuttal. All right. At this time, I'll declare the public hearing closed and ask if there's a motion or discussion.
Yes, let me first of all say that being basically one of the new kids on the block, part of the city council, never come to a meeting already having the vote in mind. Anytime there's a time of public hearing, I want to be able to hear both sides. And on tonight, first of all, let me say thank you to those of you who came out as concerned citizens and voicing your convictions, your concerns, and also hearing one who certainly was very emotional about where they live. Tonight is certainly putting me in a tough spot because it's Christmas time, and so on one end I might be Santa Claus, on the other end I might be the Grinch. But the truth of the reality is that Hickory is certainly experiencing exponential growth, and that on one hand is a wonderful thing, but on the other hand I know that it will always present challenges. Because I know there's more property that will be annexed and rezoned, and we'll have more of you, not the same you, but there'll be more of you with the same type of concerns and convictions. And so I just want you guys to know, however I vote tonight, it is simply just letting you know that I appreciate you coming and sharing, and I just believe one of the greatest gifts that we can have on earth is just to be heard.
To follow up on that, I sat and listened, and people are passionate about their property, and that's fundamental. I mean, that's fundamental not just in Hickory, that's fundamental in our country. And I look through, when I'm looking at these situations, I look through it through the lens of private property ownership and the right and the ability to do what you want with your property, as long as it is within the law and the ordinances of our state, municipality, those types of things. So that makes it tough. Like Anthony said, it makes it difficult because, property ownership is fundamental, and, unless there's unless it's outside the bounds of the law or the ordinances or, just a totally improper use of it, I tend to side that way. I tend to go that direction with the rights of the property owner. But I do appreciate everybody coming out and sharing their perspectives. And I rode out to the property. I've looked around it. And like the gentleman said, the Conservancy land, I mean, that's a buffer that's going to remain in perpetuity, I believe. I don't know all the laws about conservancy, but that's a buffer that's going to last that a lot of people, we don't have many of those to enjoy, buffers like that. 550 acres, I think you said. It's a very tough decision, and, I respect everybody coming out and sharing their views. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you for the call. I appreciate that you did engage us, and I agree with Tony. We are growing, and as a community, I think I like to hear the developer that will work with the property owners and have some buffer there to protect them. And as he says, the Conservancy obviously has buffer, and it is up to the developer to get water and sewer. And if they can't, that's on them.
I'd like to just follow up. We've heard a number of these types of issues right outside of my own neighborhood, and I guess they filled up the auditorium even fuller. What I'm hoping, and what we've seen in the past, is that there's been a lot of good discussion and compromise. So even when a development looks a certain way, but we're hearing there's openness to discuss with property owners, we've seen how even the developers have compromised. And hopefully, in working together, you can come up with something that will be more amenable to just thinking, this development's going to happen with no input. I know in some of our areas, they start with a certain number of units and talking to the neighbors and just looking at the landscape, they have reduced. And we've seen that on numerous occasions. So I'm hoping that'll happen in this case as well.
Any other comments? Well, I do appreciate those who spoke and those who have called us. I know that we've talked, I think everybody on the council has probably talked to individuals that were in favor and that were opposed, and I appreciate the respect that everyone has given us here this evening, and thank you for letting us know how you feel about this situation. All right.
Mayor, I do have a question of the developer, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Can you approach the podium, please? Two questions, or actually one question and one request. Do you anticipate any problems connecting to public utilities with this property?
There's always the potential for some conflicts, either with adjacent neighbors or routing, let's say sewer, for example. There's multiple ways to get to the sewer line, and we're gonna address exactly which would be the best route. We'll certainly be reaching out to adjacent neighbors about the sewer line connection, and also working through alternate designs as well, if we can't work through that.
Okay. Thank you for that. And secondly, like you said, this is not a contingent rezoning, so I can't hold you to this, or we can't hold you to this, but I would respectfully ask that you stick to your word, and I have no reason to believe that you won't. Stick to your word if this does pass, that you work with these people on this buffer issue, and make sure that it's, make sure that to the extent possible, everybody's satisfied with this project if it does pass.
Yes, sir. Yes, we're a local company. We're not some national conglomerate. We have a reputation in the Charlotte area, and we intend to stand by our word.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval of the rezoning.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and we have a second. At this time, I'll ask if there's any further discussion than that we've already had. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right, that carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is departmental reports. At this time, I'll ask if there's any member of council that has any appointments that they would like to make to any of our boards or commissions?
Yes, I do, Mayor. I would like to appoint Lynn Sampson to the Community Appearance Commission, please.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate Robert Lewinsky as Ward 5 representative for the Hickory Regional Planning Commission.
Okay.
And I would like to nominate Michael McLam for the Public Art Commission representing Ward 3.
Okay. Are there any other appointments? All right, I'll make a motion that we accept those three as stated.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? That carries unanimously. Are there any matters not on the agenda, Mr. Wood?
No, sir.
Okay. Do we have any general comments by anyone on the council?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
It's at the doorstep, right?
This year's
That's
gone.
right. So, Merry Christmas, and to all of you, everybody out here. I hope everybody has a safe holiday.
Maybe we'll see some snow. I heard there was a few flakes up around Lenore last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see it on the mountains from my office. I'm in the People's Bank, and you look in the mountains, you can see the snow on the mountains, so that's nice. But I think the big travel day starts tomorrow, I think they said, that the bulk of the travel starts happening tomorrow, so be careful when you're out there.
Everybody be safe.
Certainly want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. Also, I really want the Hickory High School football team to really know that we as city leaders are extremely proud of them. And certainly I know one of the greatest joys of any coach is watching the process of maturation of the boys turn into men. And so I certainly want to go on record and let the football team know we're extremely proud of them.
And remind everyone once again that Friday night, the public celebration at 6 o'clock downtown on Union Square. So just put that on your calendar and plan on being there.
And Anthony, this is changing lives too. I mean, having a state title is huge, but have you been reading about the scholarship offers that have been coming into these young men?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is life-changing for some of these young men.
Yes,
just it's tremendous.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We won't be meeting until 2024.
Shortly thereafter, I think it's like the second.
Any other general comments? All right. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session per the approval of the closed session minutes from October the 17th, 2023, and also to discuss some potential litigation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. We will